Why don't we start with Hong Kong? How's the business doing?
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me. Hong Kong is, as you said before, experiencing a very important slowdown, derived from the slowdown, of course, of China and the impact of post-COVID, slow opening and so forth. But the banking sector continues to be resilient. The banking sector, despite interest rate differentiation from mainland China, despite high interest rates, and despite the tourism not meeting our expectations post-opening, is doing quite well. It's resilient. DBS Hong Kong, for example, last year we grew 12% net profit after tax. For the first time ever, we reached 9.2 billion net profit after tax, which is $1.1 billion US dollars. That for the fifth largest bank in Hong Kong is significant. Our return on equity has continuously been above 20%. This is something that I don't disclose publicly, but it's been one of the highest return on equity franchises of DBS Group. Our cost-to-income ratio is 37%. So I think that we have performed exceedingly well in 2023. Most importantly, our losses related to China property-derived customers have been very insignificant to our size. So we've managed that portfolio quite well in the last 7 years.
Right. You've reduced your activity there, I think, as to your point, 7 years ago, a couple of years back, you've started to really pull back because of the risk involved there.
In fact, we didn't really reduce it. We have progressively in the last 10 years...
The property, I mean.
Correct.
Yeah.
We have progressively focused on the most important and resilient names in China. So we didn't really go into second-tier cities, second-tier names. So that's why we avoided the accidents that some did not.
Yeah, well, some challenges, let's put it that way. All right, so you've done well 2023. How did you manage to do that amidst what was a challenging time for, particularly when you look at loan books, for example, the economy slowing as well?
Well, year on year, the first quarter, as you know, loan book for the industry dropped again 5.4%. The interest rate differential, as well as the high interest rates, is having a toll on the loan book for the industry in Hong Kong. However, the same aspect of high interest rates is helping the banks that have a very strong funding franchise, like ourselves, and that is offsetting the impact of the loan decrease. At the same time, and reflecting the critical position of Hong Kong as an international center, wealth management business continues to be one of the drivers of higher rate of growth for banks in Hong Kong. So I would say wealth management, our funding franchise, as well as insurance post-opening, have been one of the key drivers for our growth and high return on equity.
Right. What do you make of the Hong Kong government's moves here to shore up Hong Kong as a wealth hub? How does that tangibly help a bank like yours, which you point out is doing very well already?
I think it's very important to promote the continuous access of Chinese tourists coming to the city. So the efforts that the Hong Kong government is doing, engaging the China government to allow more tourists to come to the city, is very important. Also the efforts around, positioning the city as an entertainment hub, as a conference hub, as a multi-tourist hub is also very important. That will take some time to materialize. But nonetheless, I see the government making a huge amount of efforts to improve the positioning of the city. Notwithstanding, it is very clear that the linkages between Hong Kong and China are very, very strong. And whilst China is facing this economic downturn, clearly Hong Kong will experience as well. The tourists, for example, which we see that the tourist growth in domestic tourism in China is so high. However, in Hong Kong, it's still 70% of compared to 2019. So we still have a long way to go to have the positioning that we had pre-COVID. And on top of that, the strength of the dollar, because we have a peg currency to the dollar.
Yeah,
when you look
we have to import what Powell does.
Exactly. When you cross the border to Shenzhen or you go to Japan, you see the competitive disadvantages of pricing is pushing an outflow of tourism from Hong Kong rather than getting more inflow into Hong Kong.
Yeah. Well, since you mentioned, do you see rates coming down this year? What are you planning?
Our house view is two two rate decreases starting from third, fourth quarter.
Okay.
But still, you know, the global inflation proves to be very sticky.
Right.
And I would say that the probabilities of those rate decreases are still questionable, I would say. So higher rates for longer, I think that's my own view.
Okay. Now, on wealth specifically, are you seeing more assets come into the city, whether that's from the mainland or separately? You're a Singaporean bank, of course, from Singapore. You have some money laundering issues there as well. Do you see that in some way benefiting Hong Kong somewhat?
I think that there is a very important wealth management centers in Asia, Singapore and Hong Kong. Singapore clearly attracts a huge amount of wealth from Southeast Asian countries, from India, and also from China. Hong Kong at the same time from China mainly, and Taiwan now more and more.
Is that the bulk of your wealth business?
Our private
Kong,
banking business in Hong Kong is mainly Hong Kongers, wealthy Hong Kongers, more and more Chinese wealth. And now in the last 12 months, I've seen a substantial amount of Taiwanese money coming into the city.
Okay.
We have had our highest business growth last year was our private banking business. So we are now probably one of the highest growth private banking business in Hong Kong.
Does that mean you're hiring? Because some of your other peers are reducing their headcount.
Oh, we've never reduced our headcount. We continue to hire even through the cycle. This year, for example, we are expanding more than 25% our headcount in private banking business alone. So yeah, we are hiring. We are taking advantage of the changes in the market. We're taking advantage of, you know, some of the other international banks probably de-risking. And DBS is very well positioned in this environment.
Okay, yeah. Since you brought it up, I was at a UBS conference yesterday, and I believe you guys have a big conference too next week. We do.
We have our fourth GBA conference in Shenzhen. We expect to have about 500 customers from all GBA cities, including Hong Kong. We are going to focus on AI, Gen AI, and of course, high advanced technologies. We do seem to talk a lot about real estate and the challenges in China about real estate, but there are some pockets of industries that are creating substantial amount of GDP growth in China and thus in Hong Kong. And therefore, we are making sure that GBA continues to play a very important part to the bank franchise in China as well to the bank franchise in Hong Kong.
Right. So how are you looking to get involved in the GBA? So you have key drivers. What are the specific opportunities then?
So we, for example, the ecosystem growth of advanced technology manufacturing.
Are we still talking EVs or is this something else now? Like
EVs clearly is a very important part of the industry growth and the ecosystem around EVs. Solar panels and clean energy production, manufacturing as well, not only on the product itself, but on the ecosystem that creates, and advanced technologies. Now, we are adding this year in our conference AI and Gen AI, and what it means in terms of software development, in terms of the utilization of data centers, in terms of the ecosystem that Gen AI might bring to both hardware as well as software.
What does it mean for your loan book, though? Are you looking to put some money to work as far as loan growth on those sectors?
I'm not very optimistic about total loan growth whilst interest rate differentials remain so high. But indeed, our loan growth in mainland China, for example, for DBS China, continues to grow double digits, very robust, especially in these new industries. However, in Hong Kong, because of the Hong Kong and US dollar denominated loans still quite high.
Do you see that changing though?
But most importantly, deposits, growth in the industry, new customer acquisitions, that's very important. Give you a data.
Go ahead.
This year, we acquired close to 1,200 new Chinese mainland customers in our wealth management business in Hong Kong. We acquire close to 700 companies in Hong Kong every month. So those are significant numbers that are beefing up our franchise in Hong Kong, as well as giving us opportunities in mainland China.